So, starting off with chapter 7, 7.1, we're going to learn about the distributive property. Okay, I will explain what that is in a second. Raise your hand if you have no idea what the distributive property is. It's okay if you don't. It's okay. The whole class last period, raise their hand. Okay. We're going to learn numerical expressions and algebraic expressions. What's numerical mean? Numbers. What does algebraic mean?
Letters.
Numbers and letters. Yep. So let's talk about distributive property. What operation is happening between the A and the parentheses?
Times.
Multiplication, right? There's nothing in there, so there means that's multiplication. So what that reads is A times the quantity of B plus C. Now, quantity is just the term they use when there's parentheses in there. So quantity of B plus C, that means B plus C is in the parentheses. Okay? So, to get rid of the parentheses, that's our goal. We're going to multiply A by every single term in the parentheses. So we're going to take A times B. We get AB. And then we also take A times C to get AC. Yeah? Okay? Same thing with we had subtraction in the middle. Okay? The other thing you have to be careful with is your multiplication rules with positives and negatives. Positive times a positive is what?
Negative.
Positive. Negative times a negative?
Positive.
Positive. What about a positive times a negative?
Negative.
Negative. Okay, so that's what you have to be careful with, but the distributive property is the same process. So we have A times B, and then we have A times negative C, so we get minus AC. What confused some people? The subtraction sign.
Yeah.
Okay? You can change it back into addition like we did in chapter 2. Remember keep, change, flip? You can do that with these parentheses. How would I change this to an addition problem? If I did keep, change, flip. I would keep B, change it to addition, and then change the sign of C. That means the same thing. Okay? If you don't do this process, you just have to be careful with the subtraction sign. Okay, this subtraction sign right here is also a negative sign to that C. Does that make sense?
So if you're going to add, you turn the C into negative?
Yes. Yep. Then you would end up getting that same thing. Yep. So, biggest thing with distributive property is show these arrow moves. Okay? It really does help. I still do those every time I use distributive property. Okay? It keeps you in the loop of what you're doing on your problem. Okay? Let's look at examples. Look at numeric ones first. So we're just doing numbers. So with distributive property, what's the operation that we're using when we're distributing? What's the operation we're using? I think I heard it. We're using multiplication. Yep, because it's 5 times the quantity of 12 plus 4. So what's the first thing I multiply together? 5 times 12.
5 times 4. Oh,
And then, yep, the next thing we get 5 times 4.
Is 20.
So 5 times 12,
60.
60,
Plus 20.
plus 5 times 4 is 20. Can I combine those?
Equals 80.
Yes, I would get 80. Is everyone okay? All right, let's go ahead and try those two on your own. Okay, try those two on your own. On A, with distributive property, what do I do first? 4 times 5. And then we do 4 times 8. Now evaluate those. So we get 20 plus 32 to get 52. Awesome. On B, what's different about B? It's subtraction and it's flipped, okay? Flip it back.
Do we have to flip it back?
You don't have to. You won't have to worry about these after notes. I don't know why they have them flipped. On your worksheet, they're not flipped. Okay? From here, what do we do? 2 times 6. And then we do 2 times 9. What do we have to be careful with, though?
The minus.
Right. That minus in there is also stands for a negative.
That's negative 9.
Yes. So 2 times 6,
Next, negative 6.
12. And then we have 2 times negative 9,
Oh, that's negative.
negative 18. So we get negative 6.
I got
Okay, so be careful with those negative signs. Don't rush through those. Okay? Any questions with the numerical ones? We're not going to spend a lot of time on those. Good? All right, move on to algebraic. Is anything going to change? No, it's the same process. We just have a variable in there. Okay, so first step on A, I would take 4 times x. And then second step, I would take 4 times 5. What's 4 times x?
4x.
Right, they just go together. 4x. And then what's 4 times 5? Plus 20. Can I combine 4x and 20?
No,
Why not?
because variables don't go with numerals.
Right, algebraic does not go with numeral. Okay, so if one of them doesn't have an x, you cannot combine them. So that is my whole answer. Okay, your answers today are going to be a variable plus a number.
But then sometimes.
Sometimes you can. Yep. So you cannot say, oh, that's 24x. Don't do that. Okay.
Sometimes.
Don't do that. You can only combine if they were both x's. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and try those last 4 on your own. Do those last 2 slides on your own. So, distributive property. When you're using a distributive property, what operation are you using?
Algebra.
When I'm distributing, what operation am I using?
Oh, multiplication.
Multiplication, there you go. So we have 2 times x. What's the second part?
Plus 8.
2 times 4. Yep, so 2 times x, we get 2x plus 8. Can I simplify that, or is that my answer? That's my answer, yep. Okay, on B, what do I not like about B?
It's flipped.
It's flipped. Flip it back.
It's alright.
Okay, what's my first step with distributive property?
6 times y.
6 times y. We do get 6y. And then we have plus
18.
6 times 3, which is 18. Can I do anything with that?
No.
No. Any questions on those two? Those were distributive property with addition. Okay, this time we have, subtraction. Okay, what do we have to be careful with when it's subtraction? Be careful with negatives. Go slow. 4 times x. We do get 4x. And then I have 4 times negative 2. Yep, that subtraction sign goes with the 2. So we get 4 times negative 2, which we do get negative 8. If you wrote 4x minus 8, that is also okay. These two mean the same thing. Okay? What do we have to be careful with on B? Right, the negative 2 in front. When you're distributing that 2, the negative also goes with it.
Yeah.
So we have negative 2 times
N.
n,
Which is negative 2n.
negative 2n, plus, what's the second thing I multiply?
Negative 2 times negative 3, which
Yep, negative 2 times negative 3, which we get
6.
positive 6. Yep, negative times a negative is positive. Okay? And then can I do anything with that? Can I combine those? No, leave that as your answer. Any questions about distributive property?
No.
All right.